Hi, I'm Terry Cutler, and I'm the Vice President of Cybersecurity here at Serco. And as an ethical hacker, I like to answer a question I get asked all the time, which is, what's involved in a penetration test and why do I need one? So first off, people often get confused with a vulnerability assessment or a simple port scan, and they think it's the same thing, but it's not. So let me explain. So let's use a simple analogy of a house. So the doors and windows will represent ways to get into the house. So it's the same thing for a computer. That would represent ports and services that are running on this computer that would accept connections in which an attacker can leverage. A vulnerability assessment would be like having a home inspector specialized in security show up with his clipboard to look at your home. Now he might say the front door is old and rusty and it might be easy to kick it in, or if it's a cheap lock, you might want to change it out. So in the end, he writes up a report based on his checklist and hands it to you. That's a vulnerability assessment. Now a penetration test would be like hiring a professional thief to come in and rob you, and then tell you how he did it before the malicious thieves arrive. So it's the same for the cybersecurity industry. We're called white hats, and we have specialized training to think and act like the bad guys, including performing real-world attacks. Now you should also know that a vulnerability assessment is part of the penetration testing phase, where we're going to take the information from our scanners and what they found, and use whatever means possible to break in. So using the house analogy, it could be smashing the windows or picking the door lock. So our scanners would tell us the versions of software that you're running, and it would be able to consult a database of known exploits that can help the attacker get past the vulnerability and then exploit the system. So there's many reasons why you'd want to conduct a penetration test. So the first reason would be to prevent a data breach. They watch the 6 o'clock news and they hear about data breaches and they pray to God it's not them. I can honestly tell you that my department is receiving much more proactive calls from clients who just simply want to know, can they be hacked? Now another reason would be to test the security controls to make sure they're actually working. Most of my recent engagements have been from board of directors of companies that just want to make sure that their IT department is staying on top of the alerts. So what often happens is that the CEO is going to bring us into a closed boardroom and we're just going to plug into an open network jack. So we're going to begin testing, but the IT guys never show up. And that's the beauty with a penetration test, is that we're not only testing systems, we're testing people too. So again, we're not here to shame the IT department. We're here to help them to make sure that the systems are picking up the attacks and alerting them in real time so that they can react. Now once we know if the alerting is working or not, a penetration test will help eliminate the low-hanging fruit, which means that all the easy and known issues will get picked up during the test so that your IT staff can begin fixing the problems. Sometimes you just want to test new software and its security. We often get calls because a client is about to roll out a brand new web application and they want to get it tested before it goes online. So I highly encourage this practice. Another reason would be just to get a baseline. Sometimes organizations have absolutely no clue what's running on their network and they want to know where they should be spending their money. Or another good reason could be for compliance purposes. So a lot of compliance regulations require you to conduct at least one penetration test per year to ensure that you're accountable for securing sensitive data, especially customer data. And finally, cyber insurance. Oh man, a lot of executives I speak to at live events, they just don't see the need for security until it's too late. They often make a comment to me like, well, that's why I have cyber insurance. But did you know that the cyber insurance companies won't even cover you unless you can prove that you've done something to secure your network? Okay, let's talk about the steps of a penetration test so that you can understand what really goes on. So the average test lasts about a week, week and a half, which includes the final report. Now obviously, sometimes these tests can go on for months based on the size of the organization or the scope of the test. So the first thing you want to establish is a goal. So maybe you want my team and I to focus all of our efforts on getting your credit card data. Or maybe it's just to test your IT staff to make sure that they're really watching for threats. Now once the goal is set and we begin testing, the first thing we're going to do as hackers is the reconnaissance on the target. Now this is also known as footprinting. This is the process where we're going to gather as much information as possible, both active and passive, about the target from public sources such as Google, job boards, who is. We're going to find out who the vendors are, maybe find out who the CEO is and where he lives. So this way we can drive to his house and hack his insecure Wi-Fi. So this phase is like creating a strategic battle map. The goal is to find out everything about the company. You never know what you're going to find. Later on, we might even discover the administrator passwords. Now, job posting gives us so much information about what software is running in your company. Because if you don't specify, anyone's going to start applying for this job even if they don't even qualify. So it's required to do business and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's why hackers can learn so much about your company without even touching your company. Once we've done our recon work, now we're going to move on to the discovery phase. This is where we're going to begin scanning your network and see what ports are open, which machines are alive, and then we get to see what vulnerabilities exist. Now scanning is important because this is the phase that's going to help build our attack. We're really at this gray area now because we're kind of walking up to the house and begin rattling the doorknobs. When we start scanning, there's a good chance that we're going to be detected. So in the discovery phase, we're starting to intrude on an organization. So after the discovery phase is done, we're going to start the exploitation of the systems. So by now the hacker has a good idea of what software is running on your network and its versions and what vulnerabilities exist. The goal is now to exploit this system and gain control. Another way to get into your system is by brute force methods. Now a lot of people use terrible weak passwords. So as these mega hacks are happening, us hackers have tools that can import all that hacked usernames and passwords and then try to automatically log into your accounts using your credentials. Next we have social engineering. Now social engineering in the context of cybersecurity refers to the psychological manipulation of people into performing an action or divulging confidential information that will be used against them later on in a cyber attack. So as an example, we might trick employees into clicking on a phishing link, or we might walk into one of your offices or department stores and ask the employee to let us into the server room. So once the malicious link has been clicked on, or the person ran the malicious files that are on a USB key, that's when the hacker will have full control of the computer. I'd be able to upload and download files, enable your webcam and your microphone, extract saved passwords from your browser, take screenshots, and so much more. Basically, everything you can do as a user on that machine, a hacker can do remotely. So now that I have access to your machine, I can start to pivot in your network. Now this means that I can reuse the passwords of this machine to get me to jump around into other computers. Now I can also cause misdirection because I can make it look like one machine is having a problem to distract the IT staff while I go and hack right into your HR database and steal all the data. So I try not to laugh every time I do this because the IT staff would show up all angry at the other employee in the office who doesn't even have a clue what's going on. Now a huge part of our job is collecting evidence. We want to show you proof that we actually got in. So by collecting evidence such as the passwords or sensitive files, screenshots, and whatever else, so that's when we'll use this in the final report. So the final report is basically a write-up of everything that we've tried and that was successful. The report will also have remediation steps. So basically we're going to tell you how we got in and how to fix it without even needing us. So just make sure you fix it before the real hackers show up. Now often clients call us in for a round 2 to assist them in fixing and patching what was discovered. Now you're probably thinking, why doesn't their IT staff just do it? Now here's a little misconception that people have about IT folks. Now the IT field is so huge that it's almost impossible to be an expert in everything. So if you're employing help desk technicians, there's a good chance that they're going to lack cybersecurity training. But in the end, we all complement each other. Now other consideration that you should consider is the scope. It's almost the same thing as goals, but you might say, I want you to access our credit card data, but I don't want you to use social engineering. Or that you want the tester to be limited to a specific network or a certain time of day that we can test. That's all part of your scope. Then, do you want an internal or external test to be performed? Or both, like most companies choose? Is the attacker trying to hack you from the outside? Or do you fear more the disgruntled employee? Now, I often get comments like, well, we don't care about an internal network because we trust our employees. We care more about the perimeter. What they don't understand is that once the unknowing user clicks on that malicious link, the hacker now becomes an insider, where the network isn't often monitored. Next, we want to ensure that we're doing safe testing. So the goal of the tester is not to crash any servers or cause loss of productivity. Now in rare circumstances, we've seen servers reboot just by doing a simple port scan. So we also try to use reliable exploits that are designed for a professional testing software. Then you might ask yourself, are we going to do this in-house or are we going to outsource the penetration test? If your organization is only testing once a year, you got to keep in mind it's going to cost you so much more just to keep your IT staff trained, especially the purchase of the software versus outsourcing it. Also, by having an outsourced firm do the test, it allows fresh eyes on the environment. And then as you're getting quotes from various firms, you're going to want to ask yourself, which is the best penetration tester that's right for me? So one of the things you want to make sure is that if the tester is well trained. Google the tester's name. Is he contributing to the cyber community? Is he a go-to expert in the media on data breaches? Does he have any awards to his name? Ask for references. And be careful for that bait and switch trick. This is where you're going to pay big bucks for a senior tester and you're going to end up with a junior. You also want to make sure that the firm has government clearances or licenses and certifications just to show you that they're keeping current. One of the biggest challenges that we face in cybersecurity is to put a face behind the screen of the crime. And that's where Circle can really help. So we have a multidisciplinary team of experts consisting of investigators, double agents, surveillance technicians, computer forensic technicians, and so much more. So be sure to visit us at www.groupcirco.com or by calling us at 514-744-1010. so that we can have a discussion. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for watching.